human nature is, when we hear the word change, that means, what am I losing? If you help your customers get out of life what they need, you don't have to worry about yourself. It'll be taken care of. And he said, friends will trump price.
I think that'll help some people.
Up on the shelf, there was an old microphone. He tried it out for himself. His name is Russ. He bought that mic, and now he's got a podcast show.
Welcome to the Blue Cup Podcast, and this is a special day for me as host. Make sure that you like and follow us, and especially on YouTube, and click that bell. The man on the camera here is one of the best friends anybody could ever have, and I'm going to tell you why. And throughout this podcast, and we're going to talk about a lot of other things, but the principle that I learned from Tony Robbins as a salesperson, as a great salesperson, is a blend of ego and empathy. And I think that applies. David's not really a salesperson. You have a different role, and we'll get into that. But the ego and empathy with you, because I've known you so well for so long, is the ego part. And ego does not mean that you're cocky, but it means when I would come visit you and I would park my truck blocking your truck in the driveway and say, hey, let's go to dinner. You're like, I'll drive. Well, it's my truck. You're like, you're a terrible driver. I'll drive. It's like, all right, here are the keys. Instantly, since we were 18 until, we're 40 years later. So that's what I mean by ego is the confidence, knowing who you are and what's right for you. And then the empathy runs deep and wide. And I'll share some stories later on, but just the empathy, when I was having a real struggle, I lived in Charleston and you in Charlotte, and you just showed up at my house and you were just there for me. And we'll talk about a lot of that as we go through. David Kellam and I have been friends for 37 years, 38 years, something like that. I know it's painful when we have young Ryan behind the camera. It is painful to admit, but David is a hotel developer, and that definitely qualifies you for this podcast. David has more investments than he realized based on a recent conversation that we have, and enormous equity in some things. So that's part of what we talk about. And then we just want to talk about life and how to live it, as REM said.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Oh, don't be nervous, dude. It's just a conversation.
No, I'm not nervous about that. I'm just nervous about the questions you're going to ask me. You know way too much.
You probably should be. That's fair. So tell us about the hotel development business, first of all, and what you're doing, and tell us about the lifestyle change and the position change that you made in the past year.
Yeah. So long story, and you let me know how deep and far back to go, but I find myself in the hotel industry, hospitality industry, with hotels and resorts, most recently with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. And through a series of acquisitions of companies that they acquired, I became a member of their corporate team and leading their architecture, design, and construction team. And life at the top is good. And I've always wanted to do my own thing, but didn't have the guts to do it. And I was happy suckling the corporate teat. And it's a really nice thing to do. I had weekends free, surely worked plenty of hours or more during the week and weekends, but life was good. But I just had an itch that I've always wanted to try my own thing. You have on many occasions, as we've talked over the years, encouraged me to do that, scared to death to do that. And I think I know the longer one is in the corporate world, and it doesn't have to be corporate, the longer that you are getting a paycheck every 2 weeks direct deposit into your checking account, the harder it is to do your own thing. I have a son that is starting out in his career, and I would love for him to start out as an entrepreneur and a business owner more than going and trying to work his way up in a company. Only because in a company, I'm building someone else's portfolio. I am building equity for the stockholders, and they paid me to do that. So I don't want to say that's a negative thing. But if I choose to do my own business, then I'm building equity for myself and my family, of which I didn't do outside of a paycheck. A lot of changes in my life. Let me know how much you want to go into that in the last really 18 months.
Oh, we're going to get into that too.
Yeah. But there were changes in the corporate leadership at my company, including a direct boss. I went to work for a new person. And really, very honestly, I had lost the passion for my job. And it really wasn't fair to the company or the shareholders that I stood on the bench.
I love that point. Y'all were listening to this, right? To what David just said.
And
So
one day,
what'd you do differently? One day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
what did I do differently to create value, or what did I do to change?
What change did you make to get out of that situation?
So one day I had a bad day, and was sharing that with my emergency contact.
Yes.
And she said, well, why don't you quit? And I go, well, first of all, I don't have a job. And second of all, I don't have a job. And third of all, I don't have a job. And she goes, I got you.
Wow.
And with no hesitation, with no concern, with no anxiety, she says, I got you.
Yes.
And we can talk more about her and her influence in my life.
We will. Yeah.
But that was probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And at 10:30, I emailed my resignation.
Wow. So that was a turning point, is I've got you. It's going to be okay. And sometimes we all need to hear, I mean, that's empathy in its purest form, is it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
From your emergency contact.
From my emergency contact. Yeah. So, just really quick, I really don't like in personal relationships the title of partner. It's too businessy to me. Girlfriend and boyfriend is too high school. And so I struggled with the title of which to call her. I recently went in for some surgery, was filling out the form, and it said, who is your emergency contact? And I
love that.
And I said to her, hey, by the way, I've got your title. And she said, what is that? And I said, you're my emergency contact. And she says, well, that pretty much sums it up. And
I love that. So tell me about your new career, and then we're going to go talk about backstory and all that.
Sure. 26 to 30 years ago, who's counting? Again, I was in the hospitality industry on the engineering, design and construction side, and hired a company to perform some hotel reflooring. Just we were swapping out guest room carpet.
Okay.
I happened to be one of the first customers for this company, headquartered in Atlanta. And 26 to 30 years later, I've probably done over 300, 400 hotel renovation projects with this company. Okay. He knows his kids. I know his kids. We saw our families grow up together. And he, much like you, Russ, is a mentor or a mentor on life and business. I'd been sharing with him my loss of passion for my job and what can I do to, ignite that flame again and get excited. And he said, why don't you just come to work for me? And I was like, and he said, I'll teach you the business from our side. I'll give you a salary. I'll bet a lot less than what you're making. And, I'm tired myself. And so maybe in the future, this business becomes yours. And we put together an agreement. And so the day that I had a bad day, so that plan was to happen in the summer of 2026. I had a bad day in September of 25. And I called him up and I said, hey, by the way, I'm leaving today. And I know you and I aren't going to start anything until next summer, but I just want to let you know I'm available. And I'll figure out what I'm going to do from now until next June. And he said, welcome to the family. I can't wait for you to start.
I love it.
And so
I love it.
That was, again, a very soft landing for me.
Yeah.
I told him, he called me, I don't know, in the weeks that I was winding down my job and starting with them. And he goes, how are you feeling? And I said, nervous. And that is not what you say to an entrepreneur, I've learned. And I won't use the language that he did, but he basically said, what the heck?
You can use any language you need. What did he say?
he said, what the hell are you thinking? That pisses me off. And I go, what are you talking about? He said, I moved here from Lebanon with no money in my pocket, and I started a business by myself. Now that's what you need to be nervous and worried about. He said, I'm going to pay you money. I'm going to give you benefits. You're going to have vacation. Like, what the hell are you nervous about? I was like, nothing. I'm not worried about anything.
Humans don't like change. We don't like change. I mean, we're afraid of it. Even if it's a good, really good change, it's like, I don't know. It's pretty comfortable sitting in this mud puddle, and you're trying to show me a warm bath. That's
it. I do an exercise with any and every team that I speak to, and I have them pair up. And I say, okay, the person on the left, change something about the person on the right.
Okay.
They change something. Then the person on the right change something about the person on the left. Okay. So they take the watch off, they take a pen off, they take the jacket off, the glasses off, whatever. Right. And hands down, I've done this hundreds of times with many, many, many people. And every time, that's the only instruction I give. And every time we then go through the room. What did you change about your partner? Well, I took their glasses off, or I took their pen, or I took their wedding ring, or I took, right? And so it proves that change means, what am I losing? No one ever adds a watch. No one ever adds a jacket. No one ever takes their necklace off and hands it to the next person. See, that's change too.
Oh, wow.
So, the human nature is, when we hear the word change, that means, what am I losing? And I don't like it. So I hear you.
Yeah, y'all keep listening or watching, because that is gold. And I've never heard that before. And can I steal that for our mastermind?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I've got goosebumps. That's going to be so good for a mastermind to notice. God, I never thought about that. That you always assume you're losing something in change. And
that's all the instruction you say is, I want you to change something about your partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Cool. I love it.
Automatically do it. And if you find someone in when you do this, if you find someone that adds, that's a special person right there.
Yeah, I would think did you see some of those?
I may have had 3 people in 100 times that I did it. 3 people. And usually, you'll have a group size of, 20 to 50 people, it's very rare.
Well, without doing that exercise, I just went through some people in my life who were like, here, let me give you this thing. Let me add this good thing to you. And you're right. It's very few people. And we could all learn to be better at that. So that's the empathy. That's pure empathy, is let me change something about you by adding something to you. Love it. And I'm so glad your emergency contact is behind you, and that your boss will call you out on your bullshit.
Can I tell another funny story? Just
yes, please.
So
go ahead.
Weeks, if not, it was weeks after I had sent in the resignation.
Okay.
And I was filling out. I said I had some surgery, so I had to fill out the contact info, the emergency, right? Well, part of that was that I had to fill out my salary. Well, hell, I didn't even know what I made, right? So I had to go look. And I was like, damn, like I hadn't looked at it in a while. And I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And so I'm telling her this story, and she says, first of all, she's severely disappointed that I did not know exactly how much money I made.
Right.
And I had to go through the barrage of questions of, why don't you know this? And I said, well, you have direct deposit and you have auto pay and things are paid and my savings account grows. And so I just really, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And it's this, which is terribly, kids, do not do that. Make sure you know how much money you make. Anyway, so she said, well, how much was it? She goes, no. I said, no, you're an emergency contact. I don't mind telling you. And so I told her, she goes, what? She goes, you made how much? She said, and you quit your job? And I go, yeah. And she said, why? I said, you told me to.
I was going to say, rewind to remember.
Yes. So we laughed about that.
Yeah, I love it because you and I had a conversation on your back deck over some stogies and lousy guitar playing a few years ago. And I said, "What are your plans for your retirement?" And you said, "I'll just work till I die." And do you remember what I said?
I don't.
I said, "That's a terrible plan
Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah.
to work until you die. I mean,
Yeah.
you deserve better than that." So I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you now have this ownership role.
Well, not
And,
yet, but
well,
that's the plan.
Well, but it's
I have a
it's
plan. Let's put it that way.
right,
Yeah.
right. And it's in the near future. I mean, it's within a year or two, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and he's
as soon as I feel comfortable, he's ready.
yeah. I remember you saying that he's ready to be out. So
Mhm.
that's fantastic. So we'll talk about, and I want to talk about, there's something in the investment community that Robert Kiyosaki teaches, that your personal residence is not an asset. I agree and disagree with that, because in your case, and I won't say your numbers, if you want to say them, you can, but you bought a house a long time ago. It's a really great house. I've spent many weekends there, and it's worth quadruple, and you owe very little on it. So there's an equity piece there that you can now invest at our advanced age. You have that equity piece to invest. That was a good investment for you. I love this career change. All right, now we want to talk about the night that we met.
Jeez. Yes. I remember it very well. Extremely well.
Me
And you were
too.
driving that night, and see, that's where it all went wrong.
That's where it all went wrong. I was driving. You
Yes.
were in the passenger seat, and Kevin
No,
was in the.
I was in the back seat.
Oh, you were in the back seat. Okay,
I was
you're
in
in
the
the
back
back seat. Kevin was in the passenger seat.
Kevin was in the passenger seat.
So I
Because
had
you guys were buddies, and I was the odd man
Yeah,
out.
you were the third wheel.
I was
And I had
getting
just
fumigated.
met you that night. So we were headed for some sort of mischief, and I had a
I mean,
1974.
come on. Be honest. Be honest.
What?
We were under the age of 21, and we were headed to the teen dance club.
That's true.
A little
I
embarrassed.
well, that's why I said some sort, because I didn't remember the specific mischief that we were going for. So we're going to the underage dance club where we
There
could
you
get on.
Yeah.
Eli's Troubles Away Dance Club.
Something like that.
No, that's the name. I remember the name. So I have a 1974 diesel Peugeot.
That's why I said I was being fumigated in the back seat. But anyway, go.
That is accurate. With an exhaust leak was my next. The blue exhaust everywhere that we went. But it had a sunroof, so I had the nice night. I had the sunroof open. So we're going to the teen dance club where we can actually get in. And you said, pull over in this gas station. And you bought a sleeve of powdered donuts and a bottle of strawberry milk.
A burrito.
And probably a burrito. I remember it well. And so we're headed down the road, and you finish your snacks and throw them out through the sunroof, the garbage through the sunroof. Yeah. It's like, and I slammed on the brakes, pulled over, backed up, and said, pick that shit up. And you were like, why? I said, pick that shit up. We're not doing that. And you went and picked it up and threw it in the floorboard of the car. And you're sitting there thinking, this guy's an asshole. And I'm
Absolutely.
sitting there thinking, this guy's an asshole.
We were.
And within days we were best friends. Yeah, but that was our first night together. Is
Yeah.
we both were like, this guy's an asshole. Why am I hanging out with this guy? And then the next
It
part of the
wasn't because of
story.
your cool car, that's for sure.
What's that?
It wasn't because of your cool car.
No, that car would move. It would roll. That's all you can say for it. It was a 4-speed jury rig to start and jury rig to stop because the ignition box had gone out, but it was diesel, so you couldn't kill it.
You couldn't. It's probably still running.
It could kill you, but you couldn't kill it. As you say, in the back seat, you're like, I'm getting a little dizzy back here from all the fumes. I'll put a window down.
We're
You'll
in
be
New
fine.
York City in that thing, too, in the back seat.
Oh, that's right. We drove that thing from Virginia to New York, and we also drove it from Virginia to Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why on earth did we drive my car? That thing was horrible.
No,
It got
no.
good mileage, but
Yeah.
it was horrible. So tell the story of at my wedding, the speech that you gave at my wedding, or I can tell it.
Yeah, you should tell it because I don't know
Okay,
that.
I'll tell it because, so I just talked about the night we met a year and a half, 2 years later. I'm getting married. You're my best man. And so it's your job to give a toast and a speech. And you told that story of the trash out the window and, backing up. And you said, you told the truth, which was you were then an environmental studies major at Montreat
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anderson College.
Yeah,
And I was
several
like,
years later. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, just from litter bug to
Yeah,
environmentalist
yeah,
in 2 years.
yes,
So I've always thought that was an ironic story.
that is.
It is. So tell us about your family.
So grew up in beautiful part of our country, the Shenandoah Valley.
Yes.
It was great. I say that I grew up with 3 dairy farms that surrounded my house. These were old order Mennonite people, which means horse and buggy, no electricity. And I grew up, they were my friends. Their
Yes.
parents were like my adopted parents. And I would get home from school and I'd be on one of these farms. And what a great way to grow up.
Yes.
Then for my I was in 5th grade. I don't know how old you are in 5th grade, but 10 years old.
7 or 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah. I got a motorcycle. Both my dad and my older brother were big motorcycle people. And so for my 5th grade birthday, I got a motorcycle. And so then every day after school, I'd go and get on my motorcycle and would be gone until, 6:30 at night for dinner, riding in the fields. And just, I mean, it was great. It was wonderful.
Yes.
I have a learning disability, a severe learning disability. And
Yep.
so when I graduated high school, I was going to get a job
Mhm.
and work.
Mhm.
I was not going to college. That was not an option. I hated school. School hated me. It was not a good mix. And I started selling motorcycles. Well, first of all, actually, I worked for a Nissan Subaru dealership in the mechanics part, learning to be a mechanic. And I had a sister that would come and see me every week, take me to lunch and tell me that I needed to put a plan together, as Russ says, for my life. And then I sold motorcycles at a motorcycle dealership, and it was great times. I would sell motorcycles and go race motocross on the weekends, and life was good. During this time, I actually interviewed with a big company, and they offered me a job for a nice sales job. And I want to correct Russ. Russ said that I'm not in the sales industry. I believe that everyone is. Everyone is in the sales industry.
Okay.
Whether you're a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, you have to sell yourself. So I think we all are salespeople. But anyway, I grew up in a sales family and have the ability to talk to others. And so they made me an offer and I was going to accept it. I came back from Washington, D.C., where the interview was, and actually had dinner with Russ, his sister, his mom and dad. And his dad asked me, "What did you do today?" And I said, "I went for an interview with this company," and told him about the job and the offer. And it's a wonderful offer. And he said to me, "Well, David, if they offer you jobs now, they will offer you jobs after you get an education. You need to go get your education." And when Russ's dad speaks, it's like one of those things that you must listen, right?
Yeah.
And so I all of a sudden found myself in college and yes, and studying environmental science. And so anyway, we were talking family.
Yeah.
I
Well,
graduated.
we're still talking family.
Yeah. So during college, I fell in love with my college sweetheart who was from Charlotte. And
Mhm.
after college, we made an agreement between the two of us that we would not get married until we both had graduated school. We then were married after school, and I was married to her for 25 years and have 2 wonderful children, a
Yes, you
daughter
do.
26 and a son that's 24.
Mhm.
My son actually lives close to Russ in Charleston. When I helped him move down there, I said, "Son, you'll never live back here." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you're moving to Charleston, right? You're gonna fall in love with that place." And he has. And then my daughter lives close in Charlotte.
Yeah. And I adore your children. I don't know Grace very well, but I know Harry pretty well. And Harry worked for me for close to a year as my part-time admin assistant. And he's just such a solid person. He's smart. He's willing. He actually 2 weeks ago helped me run an open house because I had two open houses and I can't be in two places at the same time. And so he was the first person I thought, and I said, God, I hope he says yes. And he was like, sure. And he shows up in a white shirt and khaki pants. I tried to give him a notepad and a pen. He held up a notepad and a pen. Like I said, because you've never done an open house before. He said, but you texted me and said, I need to get people's information. And I was like, all right, here's the door code. I'm going to go to the other house.
There you go.
We had a great day. It was good to see him.
Yeah.
And
I am definitely blessed. I have two amazing children that I give my ex-wife 100% credit. She did a great job at being there.
not 100%. You get some credit too, but absolutely. So let's talk about the learning disability, because I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but Billy Shank owned the Honda dealership, right?
Yes.
And I lived right behind you and I lived right behind the dealership in an apartment as roommates.
Yes.
And you said, come on, Billy will pay all hands on deck to do inventory, because you had like a million motorcycle parts and they have an SKU number and then quantity. And we started on it and you struggled so much getting numbers right. And Billy eventually said, David's a great salesman, but he said, you just go home and we'll do the inventory. And I'd like for you, I'm going to talk about it for 4 seconds and I want you to talk about it. I think it's so key that we play to our strengths and don't try to fix everything that's wrong with us, because there are certain things that are wrong with me that I cannot fix. So I overcome that by just going hard on my strengths. And I had a mentor who taught me that, and go more than 4 seconds. So an example is when you get your kid's report card and it's A, B, C, D. What do most parents focus on? It's like, D, why is this a D? And it's important to know if it's a D because they didn't work hard, or if it's a D because that's a subject that they're just never going to be good at. And so whatever the A's are, in later life, my mentor taught me, he said, not that you don't need to get better at the D's, but don't focus on that. Focus on getting great at the A's. And I feel like you've done that. And give me your perspective, because you've lived it. And I'm just saying it.
Yeah, my elementary school years were just absolutely brutal. I hated it. I didn't do well, and thus I hated it. I didn't enjoy it at all.
Right.
It was brutal. And by the 6th grade, my mom says, something is just not, because she would help me with homework, right?
Right.
And so they got me into an educational consultant, and he evaluated me and said that I had a reading issue called dyslexia, where I see things backwards or I skip lines when I'm reading. And so I would go to school, and then I had homework with this educational consultant for like 2 years, where I had to read books and record myself and then go back and listen to myself reading them and follow with the finger, so that, I don't know. I think he was, I don't know. It was, I've thought about that a lot. Like, what was the purpose of that? I think it was like, okay, see, David, you skip lines. Okay, well, that's great. Wonderful. But what I learned from that was, unfortunately, David, you are going to have to work harder than anyone else. And you're going to have to work 4 times harder than anyone else. And still not going to get good grades. Like, that's it. And so from 6th grade on in my education, my parents said, I don't care what you get as long as you work hard. And
I love that. I love your mom and dad, by the way. And they rest in peace, but they were amazing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of really good stories from that. My favorite is in 7th grade, and this was my science teacher, by the way. So remember what my college degree was.
Yeah.
My science teacher was not a nice person, and she did not understand my dilemma and did not accept it. It was that David doesn't take notes and David doesn't pay attention, and that's why he had grades. And she actually told my mom in a parent-teacher conference that your son is not a smart person, and that he will never, ever, ever graduate high school. He'll never make it.
Oh, wow.
And my mom never told me that, or at the time didn't tell me that. And when I graduated high school, my mom sent that teacher an invitation to my graduation. So that's a mom for you, right? And when I
Yeah.
graduated college, she also got an invitation for that too.
Man, we're both going to cry. It's going to
Right.
happen.
I know. Gotta stop. So anyway, yeah. And the crazy thing about it is I really didn't know, I didn't notice that anything was different
Yeah.
until really college. And it wasn't related to studying or school. It was driving down the road. And I still, to this day, I will drive down the road and I will see a billboard or I will see a street sign, a highway sign or whatever. And the first thing I do is guess what it says.
Yeah.
I look at it again and I was like,
Yep.
what? That's not it. And then I'll look at it again and I'll look at it again and it'll take me 4 times to look at a sign before I know what it says. And that's when I started to realize, whoa, that's weird, right? Again, there's nothing I can do about it. But yeah, and so because of my learning disability, I have had to work harder than anyone else, and I have had bad grades, and I've never been the magna cum anything.
Right.
And an employee told me once, he said, wow, he said, your personality's really gotten you a lot of places in this world, hasn't it? And I was like, yeah, it has. And then later that evening, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know that he meant that for good. Actually, I think he was burning me down there. Like, what's up with that?
Really?
And it definitely was a slam. But reality is, he was absolutely right to it. That my personality has gotten me a lot of what I have accomplished, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think your personality takes you 80% of the way, and then your persistence takes you, the rest of the way. And the fact, what you said, is you work harder, and it just
Absolutely.
taught you that, and it's just like a muscle for you that you're going to work harder. I have another friend and mentor who's very dyslexic and has made millions and millions of dollars and helped a lot of people by understanding I'm not going to write a book. I mean, you're not going to sit down and write a book. You're not going to, but you can communicate with people and you can motivate people and you can bring people together. And like the exercise we talked about just a little while ago, that's phenomenal. To have that ego and empathy where you have enough ego to say, okay, we're doing this, and you have enough empathy to say, now, do you see what that means? And I think that I wanted that to be the theme of this episode. I hope that y'all that are listening to this will stay with us because we're gonna get into some other good stuff. But I mean, that was awesome that you can share that, and I think that'll help some people.
I have learned in my 56 years that I am who I am, and
Yes.
I either need to be proud or not proud. And I have not been proud a lot of my life. And
Yeah.
there's no reason why I should not be.
No, there isn't. You've been very successful just because you have a great personality and you work your ass off. That'll work. You don't have to be a great reader and you can overcome dyslexia, but
That's it.
you can't cure it. And that's something that I
Nope.
just heard you accept that. Like you can't cure it, but you can overcome it without curing it.
You can deal with it.
Yeah.
You deal with it, right? You
Yes.
accept it, really is ultimately
Right.
what it is. You accept it and then you work around it. If you're a veteran or whatever and you lose a limb, you don't have the choice. You learn to accept that and you move on with your life without that.
Yeah. You just learn to be left-handed.
That's it. There you go. Exactly. Right.
You lose your right arm, you don't have a choice but to be left-handed.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some fun stuff
Okay.
outside of work, like boating. You live in the community around Lake Wiley, South
Yes.
Carolina,
Yes.
and we have spent many happy afternoons on the boat.
Absolutely.
And
Anything
you've come
with
to
water,
Charleston. What's
sign
that?
me up. I said,
Yeah.
anything with water, sign me up.
And reminds me of when we were, I'm going to say kids. You and I went to different schools together, right?
Right.
We went to different high schools together.
Yeah.
went to different colleges together. But your parents had that cabin on Smith Mountain Lake, and we had, I mean, they had jet skis and a ski boat, and we would sit out there and fish with corn off the dock in the middle of the night and catch catfish. And so your love for water makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I share it. Of course, living in Charleston, the love for water is inherent. So fishing, boating, you have a pretty sweet motorcycle now, and you always have.
Yes.
And you've always warned me not to get one because I'll kill myself and probably somebody else in the process. So
Absolutely.
Ryan is nodding. Young Ryan is behind the camera nodding about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Knows you already.
Right, exactly. I am not the driver.
Right.
I drive myself when I have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I talked about my mom. I'll talk about my dad, just about
yeah.
talk about the lake. And, so my dad taught me two things. Well, he taught me a lot more than two things, but he taught me to work hard and to play
Yes.
hard. And
Yes.
we definitely played hard on the weekends. So
Yep.
my parents would say, the more bruises you have on your body when you leave our lake house means the better time you had. So it was.
I love that.
Yeah.
And they taught us to be fearless. I mean, jump off not just the top dock, but
Yeah.
the handrail of the dock. And your mom would be like, "Can you do a backflip?
Yeah.
I'm 20 feet off the water.
That's
Do
it.
you want?"
That's it.
And she's like, "You can do it. Try a backflip." And so she said,
Okay.
"Well, start down." Okay. Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
Yes.
And your dad was an absolute force of nature.
Yes. Yes.
And hilarious.
Best salesperson I've ever known, and a little bit of wisdom that I will share from him to your listeners.
Yes, please.
And that is, he said, David, he said, friends want to do business with friends. He said, friends will trump price. Friends will trump delivery. Friends will trump quality. Friends will trump, the slow boat from China. Friends will trump all of that. And he said, do you know what I'm trying to teach you? And I said, no. He said, go make friends.
Mm.
And, he was a relationship guy, and he taught me relationships.
Yes.
And he said, if you help your customers get out of life what they need, you don't have to worry about yourself. It'll be taken care of. And those are the principles that really have put me where I am personally in life, as well as professionally. And that guy called me out on my personality, but really it was about my ability to create relationships with people, and ones in which when they need something, they think, I'll call David, right?
Yeah.
And plug in your industry. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that's incredibly true. And another way to express it is the way to get you what you want out of life is to give other people as much of what they want as you can.
Absolutely.
And that's what friends do. And back to the beginning, the ego and empathy thing. I mean, you and I have each been there for each other in some pretty rough times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know you do that for a lot of people, and I do my best to connect people with what they need.
Yeah.
And that's friendship.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really is what fuels me, as a person. And I have been recently seeing a professional, and I call her my counselor. I don't need a therapist. Okay. I need a
Right.
counselor.
Okay.
Her sign may say therapy, or therapist, but I call her a counselor. That's a joke. But anyway, in seeing my counselor the last time we were together, she says, David, I think out of all the people that I know or have ever met, you have the most empathy for others that I've ever seen in anyone. And I proudly smiled and said, oh, thank you. And she said, it must be exhausting. And when truth hits you in the face, it'll punch you in the nose, right? And I said, it is exhausting, right? But that's who I am, right?
Yeah.
And can't change that.
Right.
I think that she's working with how to be empathetic, but yet not let it exhaust you.
she teaching you about boundaries?
Yeah, she said something about that word, and I said, I don't really know what that is.
I know.
And if I knew what that is, I would not know how to keep said boundary.
Right.
So I would blow past the boundary at 60 miles an hour. Yeah, maybe she might be teaching that.
I hope so, because I have seen you, if we can be real, I've seen you honestly hurt yourself with your empathy to other people, because you will put people so far ahead of yourself. I'm like, God damn it, dude. Don't you see what's happening here?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, kind of, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I need you to help it because you're my boy. You're my brother. Like my parents call you their third son on a regular basis. So,
Absolutely.
we want to see you take care of yourself. And so everybody's heard the corny analogy when the oxygen mask drops in the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first.
Absolutely.
And then look around, see who can help, and
That's
not
it.
be like, oh God, who can I help?
Right.
You can't help anybody if you don't have oxygen.
Can't breathe.
So
You're right.
I've
You're right.
always loved that analogy for excess empathy.
Yeah. But it's incredible that I agree. I see that, but it's hard not to take care of others first.
It's your nature. It's your nature. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel good unless I do that. And
Right.
that's a good thing and a bad thing. Double-edged sword.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of your success is because of what you just talked about, Harry, your dad teaching you about being a good friend and making that connection. And then people want to do business with you or want to hang out with you on the weekend. I mean, if you're a good friend, it gets you a long way.
Yeah.
Talk about something on the notes that Ryan took that you and I have really not talked about, letting go of aggression.
Yeah, I said that I was married for 25 years and I find myself single now, and that's a whole nother story, but of which I'm wide open for. That's the other thing is I am who I am, and so I don't shy away from any questions. But I'm in phase 2 of my life. Right? There's phase 1 and phase 2, and I don't know how many phases there will be, but I'm in phase 2. And phase 2, Dave, is more calm, less aggressive, 100% forgiving. And maybe, Russ, maybe it is my age, right? Maybe it is that, and I do believe that does change over time. Although I do know young people that are very compassionate and less aggressive. Right. So maybe not, but for me, maybe it is that. And the reason I say that is because I was about to say life's way too short to worry about the little shit. And I feel like the things that I would have gotten angry or aggressive or obsessive about were little shit. It really,
you can just brush them off.
Yeah. Again, another great lesson that I was taught. I was an executive again with a hotel company, not the last one, and I got so upset in a meeting. I mean, I was so upset. And a colleague, older gentleman, 2-term Vietnam helicopter pilot, man that had lived life, right, called me into his office after that meeting. And he said, David, he said, you got to learn to let things roll off your back like a duck's back. And I go, like, what? He goes, yeah. I go, what are you talking about? And he said, what does water do when it's on the back of a duck? And I said, well, it just rolls off. He said, yeah, that's what you got to let. And there are not a lot of things that you get that passionate about, right? You can call it passion, and that upset about, that you don't just let it roll off your back. So I think about that too.
Yeah. It's a lot of wisdom around us if we'll shut up and listen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
learn from others' mistakes, because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself.
Right. I like that. That's a good quote. Ryan's going to tag that. That's a gold nugget right there. That one, we're going to pull that out. What else? There was something I was going to ask you. I'm just going to look at my notes because it blew right out of my head. I love this. Struggles of being unstoppable. What does that mean?
What it means to me is, again, being unstoppable. Like, how can that be positive, right? Being compassionate or having empathy, why can that? That's wonderful, right?
Right.
When it's taken to the nth degree, when unstoppable means that that's all you focus on, it's bad, right? I stood before God and a few witnesses and said, in sickness and health, till death do us part. That's pretty unstoppable, right? And I couldn't make it work, but I tried like hell, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And hurt myself trying to make it work, right? And hurt many, many other people because I was going to be unstoppable. Divorce was not an option. Failure was not an option. You just need to work harder. And sometimes working hard doesn't fix it, right? And
Right.
I'm a fixer, right? By nature. I'm a pleaser and I'm a fixer. Oh my God.
You're a mechanic. I mean, you're a fixer.
Right. Two things that you think, again, wonderful things, a pleaser and a fixer. Well, a lot of times you can't please or fix everyone or any situation. And wisdom is knowing when you can't and having the strength to say, I can't fix it. I can't make you happy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a prayer or saying from my history, which is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. God
and that's
grant
huge. Just that sentence right there is absolutely epic.
Yeah, just abbreviated. It's the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tough because
Yeah.
I'm like you. I mean, and I don't know if it's the era in which we were raised or the community in which we were raised, but aggression was celebrated.
Yeah. I mean, I was never taught, and you can ask my kids, I was never taught about a life plan. I remember my very first job, I was working for an engineering firm, and I had a client that was about my age, same age. And I picked him up for a business trip at his house, and he and his wife had finished their home and built it themselves. And I said, man, this is wonderful. And he said, yeah. He said, I hate it that our cars have to sit out in the driveway, but we're going to add a detached garage, in the future. Sure. And he was an architect. And I said, well, why don't you do that now? And he goes, well, it's not in our life plan yet. We have it scheduled. I said, life plan, what's that?
Yeah.
I said it just like, what's that? And he said, well, your plan where you schedule out in your budget and timing and timelines and work and career. And he's going all, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you meant that, right? I got home that night. I said to my wife, what's a life plan? She goes, what are you talking about, right? I made money to pay bills. That's what I did. That was my plan. And I thought that was what you're supposed to do. I have no life plan. My brother says, plan the work and work the plan. And so my kids hear that all the time. What's the plan? I don't care what the plan is. I don't care what it is.
Let's have a plan.
Know what it is. Because once we know what it is, then we can go.
When side story, I had the pleasure of working for your brother for 10 months when I was 22 years old. And it's a little more ego than empathy.
Zero.
But he has the empathy.
Yes.
And he loves to teach like that.
Yeah.
And I learned so much working for him. He was my direct report within the company.
Yes.
And learned so much from him. And he's such a Kellam.
Yeah.
He's like your dad. He's like you. And Harry's a little different. Harry's a little more cerebral.
Yes.
Your son, Harry.
But he has the empathy.
Yeah.
Well,
and he thinks a little differently.
A lot.
So don't need to get sidetracked on that. But
I'll tell you funny about my brother recently that I don't think you know. I'll make it quick, Ryan. Sorry. So my father passed away in 2024, 91 years old. What a wonderful life. And I said, I'll do the eulogy, right? And I cry at the drop of a hat. And I was like, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to do this, but I thank God for it. And my brother said, keep it short. I'm like, no. He said, short and sweet. Short and sweet. And I go, absolutely not. He goes, David, I mean short and sweet. And I said, Greg, if you want to do it, I'll be happy to let you do it. He said, no, I'm not doing it. I said, all right, then it will not be short and sweet. His life deserves to have stories told. So anyway, short and sweet.
Well, when I worked for him, it was the same time, and this is how old we were. I had a pager, no cell phones, and I covered Virginia, Southern Virginia, and West Virginia. So I'm driving through West Virginia, and my pager is going off over and over, and it's your brother sending me 911, 911. And I'm thinking, God damn it, it's going to take me 45 minutes to get to a payphone. He called the office, 911. I couldn't communicate back until I got to a payphone and put quarters in it and called the office. He's like, where were you? I said, in the hills of West Virginia, driving to my appointment. He said, well, we set appointments for you in Richmond tomorrow. And the technology then is like, all right, let me get my notebook and read it off to me on the phone, and then I'd get out my paper map and drive over the mountain to Richmond.
Yeah.
But he would send me the office number and say, call the office. And then if 10 minutes went by, it became a 911 emergency. Keep it short. Keep it short.
So back to the original thing that you were talking about, aggression. That's what we were brought up with. And it's not aggression as in anger. It was get shit done.
Get shit done. Right.
Get shit done.
Yeah, we have a whole community, and I'll bring you into the community that's hashtag GSD. And I'll send messages to friends and business associates mostly with the hashtag GSD. Let's just get it done.
That's it. That's it.
So another example of your empathy and your love for people is that you were basically the officiant at my daughter's funeral or day of remembrance or whatever we called it. And because I couldn't do it, there's no way.
No way. Impossible.
And I didn't even have to ask, you offered, like, let me do this for you. And that was a tough day. But it was beautiful to have you there, and you handled it remarkably well. And with respect to everybody in the room, kept everything on track. And, I really appreciate you being there for me. And that's just a really personal example of who you are. And I've been in your house when you're on a work call, and I can hear how you deal with contractors and employees and your superiors, and like, well, how do we do that? What's the best way to? And you'll ask questions, say, okay, well, what about this? And sometimes give a command like, nope, we're not doing that. We do this. And I think that's why you've been an executive and done so well at managing people is you can listen, but then you're going to say, no, that doesn't make sense. Let's do it this way. And I think that makes a powerful leader. And that's why I wanted this episode to be focused on the ego balanced with the empathy, because I know it's a struggle for you.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle for a lot of people. And sometimes this is a struggle, too much ego. And sometimes this is a struggle, too much empathy.
Sure.
And getting that balance right can be difficult for all of us humans.
Yeah.
So I congratulate you for working on it. And we're never going to quite get there.
Sure.
Talk about weight loss, man. You've lost a bunch of weight this year.
Yeah. So I've struggled with weight all my life. I used to say I participated in 4 sports in high school, each in back-to-back. So all year I was running and gunning and could eat my beloved food of pizza all and as much as I wanted, or strawberry milk and burritos from 7-Eleven. I'm telling you, I'll knock it. And white powdered donuts, a bomb. So if I ever do anything really, really bad and I'm on death row, that's what I'll be asking for the last meal. But I went to college, and I walked on our soccer team until the first week of class. I knew that there was no way that I could do anything other than college to survive, right? And so I stopped any sports, focused on school, but continued to eat and got very large, but a battle all my life. And I've probably lost several people in years, and I've always gained that back. Right prior to COVID, But I got divorced prior to COVID. I went to the local CrossFit gym and handed them my wallet. And I said, I want you to beat my demons out of me. And they said, gladly. And I did great. I lost a lot of weight. I was in the best health that I'd ever been. It was my 50th birthday party. Russ was there.
Oh yeah.
And then COVID happened, and the gym, the world shut down, right? But that gym shut down. And I remember saying to myself, I will never go back there, because I knew the pain that it took me to get to that place. Right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to go back through that. And so again, I gained all of that weight back. Most recently, I had made a decision to start back into the CrossFit. I was absolutely petrified. I was 55 years old, 54, 55. And I thought, man, I'm going to have a heart attack. And I'm around all these young punks and trying to keep up. And I'm going to hurt myself. And I was just scared to death to do it. And I just finally just said, I'm going to do it. I started to do that. And, that just made me feel good. I don't know that I was losing much weight. I met my emergency contact that changed my life. And I know that I haven't lost my weight for her, but it surely is nice to have someone that you look forward to working hard for, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not just working hard for me, I'm working hard for her as well, because she's smoking hot. And so I would say in the last 18 months, my doctor says, congratulations, I've lost an 8th grader, but I've lost 90 pounds.
Okay.
And, I feel great. I feel wonderful. But for me, food was, and everybody that knows me says, duh. But food for me was I was an emotional eater. It was my calm, right?
Yeah.
I remember I could take you exactly to the place that I learned this. I was driving a rental car through Manhattan, and at 2:00 in the afternoon, and was on the phone with my wife, ex-wife now, in a hated argument, right? And I hung up the phone and I go, I've got to get something to eat. Well, I had just finished lunch. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, you're an emotional eater, right? And so food to me has been my comfort. And, when people talk about comfort food, it really is. It is absolutely comfort food. And so not only have I been on an exercise program, but my emergency contact has taught me not only it's what you put in your mouth, but how much you put in your mouth and when you put it in your mouth. And there's so much education behind that. And then she's a wonderful cook, right? So, when stuff tastes good, that makes it easy too, right?
Right.
To eat good stuff, right? So, what a lot of change in the last 18 months. I've found someone and fallen in love, and I had promised myself I would never do that again, ever, would never take a risk to be vulnerable with my heart. Have lost an 8th grader in weight, and I quit a really good job, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things. And so I'm working on myself. I want to be a better David. Phase 2 is all about being better. And I want to learn and grow and be a better person, not only for me, but for others as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you'll still be as fun as you are. So
Absolutely. Gotta have fun.
Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it. So we had John Fischel on.
T-Bone.
I forgot about that nickname. Good God, he has a lot of nicknames.
Yes. Well, I'm the only one that calls him T-Bone, and I don't know why. I just think Johnny T-Bone Fischel sounds good.
He's calling himself White Fire now or something weird like that. So,
of course he does.
So I told the story about you flying me out to Fort Wayne, Indiana to surprise him on stage. So we need to tell a college story. And I want to pick the Mount Mitchell bike ride as a college story. So you went to college in Montreat-Anderson in North Carolina. Beautiful, beautiful campus there, like black bears walking around. French Broad River runs right through the campus. And I was living here in South Carolina. at the time, and you called me and said, pack up your mountain bike and come up here. We're doing a ride. And I was we were young and single, and I was like, I'm there. So you had arranged a van to take us to the top of the mountain, so we only had to ride down. We didn't have to ride up. And we rode down Mount Mitchell, highest point on the East Coast, right?
East of the Mississippi.
Highest peak east of the Mississippi. So there were, what, 5 of us, 6 of us?
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was you and I and then 3 or 4 of your friends. And so we get the van ride to the top. We're riding down, and I had been working like 80 hours a week. No social life. I so much needed that relief. So I was hyper, and I'm leading the descent, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. And so, I wiped out 3 times on slippery rocks so that the 4 of you behind me could see where the whitebelts were, scraping elbows. And I didn't care because I was having so much fun. So we get to the end of the run. So we're on where it's not like technical and you can go pretty fast. So it's relatively smooth, like single track. And I rode into a swarm of bees. And so the bee, I can feel them, but I'm going fast. So luckily they're hitting my face and chest and shoulders and bouncing off, except for one particular bee. And that little fucker hit my upper lip and went up my nose and stung me in the nose, inside my nose.
The best day of my life.
So I skid over to the side, and I'm snuffing this bee out of my nose, and it's swelling immediately. And you and the other guys stopped and was like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm me in my nose. There's no nose.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
So we're
like, what did Russ do now?
Right, we went out looking for girls that night, and the side of my face is swollen like this.
But the mountain girls kind of like a guy with a big nose like that,
And I'm still talking like this the whole night because my nose is swollen.
Ah, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, good times.
Good times.
We have too many stories like that, but I wanted to share that one because it's relatively sanitary.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. I think, I am a student these days. I am not in a position where I am confident in my skills and abilities. I am started over, and I'm not an entrepreneur. And so I think I have more to learn than share. One thing that I think about a lot that my dad taught me, and it applies to so many things in our lives, but for me in my life, and maybe this will help someone else, my dad would say an inch is a cinch, but a mile takes a while. And so that gives you that grace that you don't have to accomplish it today or this week or this month or this year. Life is the marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, that's great. And I think growing up where we did, there were a ton of those little mountain expressions like that. But it's value.
Yeah.
Definite value. So thanks for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here. I love you with all my heart. Your brother.
Absolutely.
And we will talk again soon. This has been the Blue Cup Podcast. We thank you so much, David Kellam, for being here today. It's been sensational. Thank you to everybody who listens or watches us. You can find us on social media such as Instagram, Twitter, X, or whatever it's called now, YouTube for sure, and then some various websites like our Good Faith websites that Ryan will share below. The most important thing you can do for us as listeners is comment. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are we right? Are we wrong? Start a discussion, and let's all grow together and help each other. So that's a wrap.